leaders such as Mugabe towards the end of his tenure, leaders such as Kagame, leaders such as Magufuli, leaders such as Sam Ruto, leaders such as Geingob and Masisi in Botswana and Namibia, who have started to implement the project of revival of the Africans by scraping away borders, creating common trade zones, and allowing our people to begin to move freely, building the Africa that we want. Our democracy and our self-governance in Africa is a toddler. It's a toddler as compared to the Eurocentric system. America is sitting on 260, 270 years later of perfecting their system. The oldest in our midst in Africa in terms of the democratic regime, which I don't believe in at the end of the day. But however, Ghana is only a few 60 years and above that. So when it comes to us perfecting ourselves as Africans, being self-determined, to be able to define what is sovereignty, what is independence, what does it mean that we are Africans, we are ruling ourselves? Are we ruling ourselves when blacks are ruling us on behalf of whites? The answer is no. Hence I always complain to many of my young boys out there, it's not about politics, it's about understanding the system. Oh, so who do you support? Do you support this one? Or do you support that one? No, I don't support this one or that one. I support the progress of a country which begins to institute policies and putting together laws that favor the common people and change the world global economic system when it comes to our own sovereign African countries. The fact that we have our own presidents, the fact that we have our own kings, the fact that we have our own reserve banks, the fact that we have our own national anthems, and we have our national flags. If these things truly represent what they are told to represent, then Africa, as individual countries, is free to make decisions as sovereign countries. Unless you can tell me that the whole concept of democracy was just fake. That whole national flag story, it is just rubbish. That whole national anthem story is just rubbish. We just gave you a few songs to sing and a few flags to wave in the air. But when it comes to financial issues, when it comes to critical issues that formulate the sovereignty of Africans, from their spirituality to their self-determination, to their self-governance, to their healing processes, if you begin to look at indigeneity in its proper context, you may actually find that the whole idea of democracy is just fake. And that's why I get worried, because many of us young people, we put politicians in place and we hope for change. And that I've told you and I'll tell you again, stop changing politicians. Start changing the laws. Change the system. Stop changing leaders. You'll have 5-minute painkiller sessions of presidents. This one comes 5 years later, he's gone. Oh, then people feel happy. We got a new one now. This one comes, messes up again. Oh, we get a new one again. It's 60 years later. Africans playing marbles with this democracy. Because for once, you need to understand, there is no way a president can have a long-term plan when he is a short-term in office. Use your common sense. Why must I build a house and buy a farm for a girlfriend whom I know that I will not see in the next 1 year? How do you make long-term investments in short-term relationships? It becomes difficult unless you are bewitched and your mind is not working constantly. People invest as far as their eyes can see. It's once in a while when you have leaders such as Hitler, leaders such as Mugabe towards the end of his tenure, leaders such as Kagame, leaders such as Magufuli, leaders such as Sam Ruto, leaders such as Geingob and Masisi in Botswana and Namibia, who have started to implement the project of revival of the Africans by scraping away borders, creating common trade zones, and allowing our people to begin to move freely, building the Africa that we want. We're beginning to hear politicians out there, our presidents, some out there in the countries, who are beginning to say the language which we have been saying on these platforms for the past 5-10 years. But I'm glad that this message is even reaching the powers that be. I'm happy when I hear them talking about coming to the table. We want an equal share of this cake. You can no longer talk to us like that. We are equal partners here. We want to sell our things at the normal rates. Give us debt also at the price you're giving other countries. We want to become shareholders in our investments. That is the conversation we have been saying. So I want to encourage you, farmers of thought, our voices are not in vain. We are here to address the past and change the future and hand over a future to our children that is secure. Our generation dealt with two tragedies: the tragedy of losing everything at war and waking up in the morning and discover you have nothing in the economy. So we have to fight twice. Or we have fought the first battle, which is the political warfare. Now we are at the economic battle, which is a mental, psychological warfare, where we need to start understanding that once you talk finances, you are talking policies, you are talking banking, you are talking transactions, you are talking taxes, you are talking forex, you are talking exports, and all these things are covered in pieces of commercial law, pieces of laws of marriage, pieces of marine law, pieces of this. And doing business is not as radical as doing war. The war of a gun, you take a bomb, take a grenade, boom, you explode. Things have changed. But when it comes to dealing with economic landscapes, the economic war base is not carrying guns and shooting people unless you're doing a regime change like what America is doing. But for the rest of the country, you need to get to the table and negotiate your terms. But Africa, in her condition right now, she cannot get on the table and negotiate her terms. Because Zimbabwe will say, we are selling lithium at X amount. Botswana raises its hand and says, no, we can sell it at so much. Zambia raises its hand, no, don't buy from Zimbabwe, don't buy from there, we'll give you at a cheaper price. And so Congo can say, no, there's war here, we give you half the price. Why? Because we don't have a common market. Africa can be benchmarked on a common purchase order. If it is $10, it is $10 in Congo, $10 in Zimbabwe, $10 in Gambia, $10 in Cote d'Ivoire. Then we are doing business. If it is gold, if it is $150 or $60 per gram, it must be $60 per gram throughout Africa and on the world market also.